Good evening. I think this is right. I think everything should be hearable. Hopefully. Back to Wednesday. It is March 8th. And number 92 of this thing. I don't know what that means. I hope y'all are doing well. I was playing with actually, wait, let me start with this. Let me set the mood with this brief monologue. It's just a minute or so long. It's entitled The World and I by E.M. Sioran. And it's, I think, a good, you have like your live, laugh, loves, and your kiss the chefs, and your serenity prayers. This is kind of like that. It's a little too long to put on, a piece of ceramic to hang over your oven or something, but you could probably have parts of it in different areas of your house. You could probably put one, the main part, in the bathroom across from the toilet. It goes a little something like this. The world and I am, therefore the world is meaningless. What meaning is there in the tragic suffering of a man for whom everything is ultimately nothing, and whose only law in this world is agony? If the world tolerates somebody like me, this can only mean that the blots on the so-called sun of life are so large that in time they will obscure its light. Life's beastliness trampled me underfoot and oppressed me, clipped my wings in full flight, stole all my rightful joys. The enthusiastic zeal and mad passion I put into becoming a brilliant individual, the demonic charm I adopted to gain an aura in the future, the energy I spent on an organic, glamorous inner rebirth, all proved weaker than the beastly brutality and irrationality of this world, which poured into me all its reserves of negativity and poison. Life is impossible at high temperatures. That's why I've reached the conclusion that anguished people whose inner dynamism is so intense that it reaches paroxysm and who cannot accept normal temperatures are doomed to fall. The destruction of those who live unusual lives is an aspect of life's demonism. It's also an aspect of its efficiency, which explains why life is the privilege of mediocre people. Only mediocrities live at life's normal temperature. The others are consumed at temperatures at which life cannot endure, and which they can barely breathe, already 1 foot beyond life. I cannot contribute anything to this world, because I only have one method: agony. You complain that people are mean, vengeful, ungrateful, and hypocritical. I propose the agony method to rid you of all of these imperfections. Apply it to every generation, and its effects will soon be evident. Maybe in this way, too, I could become useful to mankind. Bring every man to the agony of life's last moments by whip, fire, or injections, and through terrible torture he will undergo the great purification afforded by a vision of death. Then free him and let him run in a fright until he falls exhausted. I warrant you that the effect is incomparably greater than any obtained through normal means. If I could, I would drive the entire world to agony to achieve this radical purification of life. I would set a fire burning insidiously at the roots of life, not to destroy them, but to give them a new and different sap, a new heat. The fire I would set to the world would not bring ruin, but cosmic transfiguration. In this way, life would adjust to higher temperatures and would cease to be an environment propitious to mediocrity. And maybe in this dream, death too would cease to be imminent in life. Guy's a blast. He's a hoot. There's a little parenthetical at the end here. These lines written today, April 8th, 1933, when I turned 22. It is strange to think that I am already a specialist in the question of death. That's an excerpt from E.M. Sorian's The Heights of Despair. I think I've probably read it before. E.M. Sorian, unlike a lot of philosophers of his ilk, let me do this real quick. Cheers. E.M. Sorian did not take his own life. He lived to be in his 80s. Maybe late 80s. Maybe even early 90s. I'd have to check that. But at 22, he was already pretty tired of the world. Frightening to... things must have changed. Right? He couldn't have gone through his whole life feeling that way. He had ups and downs. I'd hope. Maybe you saw this in the far shot. It's negative, but the fact that it's here means I was not feeling great the other day. Thought I might have the COVID. Still quite sniffly, but don't think I have the COVID. What is... Oh, the greens... This is... These are microgreens. Welcome. Welcome to my world of microgreens. Cheers. Oh my God. So fucking spicy. I was at a farmer's market this weekend. Picked up ooh. Whew. It's kind of like eating a raw onion, but it's good. Anyway, yeah, at a farmer's market this weekend. Picked up, a tray of microgreens, leeks, radish, I forget what the other one is. I've been munching on them all week and will continue to munch on them because I don't eat enough vegetables. I need to get vegetables into my diet to overcome my vitamin D deficiency, my optimism deficiency. I also have a support brace for my tennis elbow. Everything's going splendid. Reading E.M. Sorian. I'm forcing myself to eat things that make me grimace when I chew them. I thought I had the COVID. My elbow hurts when I mean, it's pretty much always in pain now. I have to be in I don't even know what position I have to put my arm in to not be in pain. It's just always in pain. Fucking great. Anyway, tonight, I don't want to fucking do anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to plan to talk about the things that have happened in the past week. Although things have happened in the past week. right? And I'm probably going... Who's this? Oh, hi. How you doing? What are you doing there, little guy? You look nonplussed. What's wrong? What's this? Oh, maybe we'll talk about that a little later. Why don't you go back down? Can you go back down? Can I get you to go back down? There you go. Have to work on the timing of that. But I just wanted to, hang out and do whatever the heck I want, because I'm trying to find something. I feel like I'm going through some sort of cleansing fire. Some kind of Thanos Seorian expert on the agonies of life, cleansing fire that must precede the Phoenician rebirth, right? Trying to find what I want, because I don't know. A lot is changing in my life. I'm going to be probably spending a lot of time in New York. Not as much time in DC. So there will be a lot of things going on IRL, and maybe not as much going on IFL. This F is for fake, but I don't mean that. That's in IIL. What is the initialism for the opposite of IRL? Oh my God, I see Ava's. Look at this. Ava. Oh, that's, well, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, work. I'm sorry your work is so tiring, unless it's really fulfilling, in which case, good on you. Good night, Eva. Am I moving to NYC? I don't know if I'm moving. I will be a man of multiple locations, most likely. So what will happen there? Oh, I have a pied-à-terre, the Upper East Side. Oh, Q. That's boring. I don't want to say that. I want something clever and self-referential. Fine, online. The lights are darker tonight. Maybe my mood is darker. I don't know if I'm moving to New York, but I'm probably going to spend a good amount of time there. Yeah. Kind of wanted to do that for a while. I don't want to move away from my kids. That's the only thing. But they love New York, so this is a world in which nothing is solved. It's a direct Rust Coal line. I wonder if that was taken from this. Time is a flat circle. On the heights of despair, nobody has the right to sleep. Thus, a genuinely desperate man cannot forget his own tragedy. His consciousness preserves the painful actuality of his subjective torment. Doubt is anxiety about problems and things, has its origins in the unsolvable nature of all big questions. such questions could be solved, the skeptic would revert to more normal states. Blah, blah, blah. Fucking A, man. The guy goes on and on. You're depressed. We get it. It's like the devil voice in Hyren. Nobody wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself. Trust me. And yet, they do. It's a brilliant, brilliant song, by the way. Hyren, it's called. Never seen it. Had my son over this weekend. He's been, I've been just trying to challenge him. And challenge him with, like, geography questions. So we did, like, one of those geography quizzes. See, here, I'll show you a little bit of it. Let's see, if I switch to this camera, and then to this.
Hey guys, this is Anthony 7 or not Anthony 7, not sure. Today we'll be getting a geography quiz.
I'm gonna turn on
how many? I know Libya is a country.
See if this actually works.
Niger and Chad are. So how hard can this be?
Okay, so this was a
hard. I thought. Oh.
Before it moves on. Okay, so there was, one of those. You go here and you type in the names of the countries and they fill in, and it gives you 10 minutes to do it. I was typing.
Oh,
he would say them.
USA. Russia.
Hey, he's so flustered there at the beginning. You could see.
China.
Just naming the big ones.
Canada.
It's getting the big ones. Getting the easy ones.
France.
Not sure why Austria. Maybe because Australia.
Denmark.
It's kind of similar.
UK.
Got the UK now.
Brazil.
Oh.
Uruguay.
In terms of
Paraguay.
Land space, he's doing good.
Bolivia.
Like doing Uruguay and Paraguay at the same time.
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Chad.
So he's going. Sometimes he's going with things that
Sudan.
sound similar. He's getting
South
flustered.
Sudan.
Getting flustered. Oh, that was me. That's me. You can hear me typing there. I'm screwing
Egypt.
it up for him. Screwing up his time.
Libya. South Africa.
Go, kid. You
New
better
Zealand.
go quicker.
Norway.
For everyone he got wrong, he
Sweden.
had to eat microgreens.
Finland. Mongolia.
Do it.
India. Mali. Turkey.
Turkey.
Greece. 30 already. Philippines.
30. Don't stop
It's really
to
hard
pat
to
yourself
spell.
on the back, buddy.
Indonesia. Japan.
You got it.
Algeria.
Okay, we don't need to watch the whole thing.
Morocco.
Let's see how many he gets. Let's get
Spain.
down closer to. Oh, getting a bunch.
Kenya.
Ethiopia. He meant Ethiopia. I typed out Ethiopia. Somali.
DRC.
He doesn't even call it Congo. He just says DRC.
Wow. 81.
81. Let's see how many. You got hung up on the last few there.
Georgia.
But as far as landmass goes,
Bhutan.
he was calling them all out.
Wow. That's
He
amazing.
wasn't able to keep himself in frame.
101.
Yeah, 101.
Now, just think. He would think. Wow,
Okay.
this is surprisingly hard.
It's not surprisingly hard.
Hints?
Yeah.
That's me. You can hear me in the background there.
There's some there.
Oh, United States of Emirates.
I gave him that one. I don't know that I should have. That's just the kind of father
That
I
one
am.
was hard.
It was hard. Really
Oh my
slowed
God.
down here at the end.
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. So I think he ended up getting, I think 120. I mean, he got like 96% or something. Which, it's not perfect. So, he had to have some of these. Not good, man. Those I don't like. I like these ones here. The leeks. Oh God, they're hard to eat without. The leeks are good. These are good. These ones. And they're hydroponically grown, so you don't have any dirt. How gross is that? Pretty gross. This stuff is supposed to be really good for you. I'm trying to... It's an easy way for me to consume that stuff, but it's probably not a good idea for me to do it on stream, huh? Whew. They do have a kick. So, what else? I saw The Northman, finally. When it was announced, I was very excited by it. Then I heard that it was basically just Conan with better visuals. I got a little, disenchanted with the idea of sitting through a very long Viking movie yet again. I saw it was pretty much what I expected. It's weird. I feel like Robert Eggers, he burst onto the scene, right? You have these directors sometimes who burst onto the scene, and they burst on the scene with something spectacular, and then maybe they spend a while trying to replicate the spectacular thing they burst on the scene with. No, I know that. Okay, I'm going to use. Who should I use as the guy that did The Whale? Darren Aronofsky, right? He came onto the scene with Pi, but then he really knocked it out of the park with Requiem for a Dream. And then he did a bunch of shit, including The Whale. Or The Whale flopped. Get it? The Whale flopped. But he came out guns blazing. Right? And Mother, oh my God. One of the worst things I've ever had to sit through. Is Mother. What a terrible movie. Nothing, I don't know, nothing redeeming about that movie. I mean, it was a feat how they pulled all that stuff off. Kind of like a play, and I could see where, he would want to adapt a play like The Whale. But anyway, some directors, right, they come out guns blazing with an amazing masterpiece, and they spend the remainder of their career or this kind of sophomore slump trying to recapture that. But Robert Eggers, I feel like he hasn't had his masterpiece yet. I feel like he's consistent. He's put out stuff where it's been like, oh, pay attention to Robert Eggers. Something. This guy's got to do something. The Witch was really good, but it seemed like it was setting up for something. The Lighthouse was really good, but it also felt like it was in search of something. It's like he's mastering all these different aspects of how to write and direct a movie as his career. And the next, I think his next movie, actually, he bought the rights to. Didn't he buy the rights to something that didn't seem interesting to me? What's Eggers doing next? Because I'm hoping that his next thing will be great. Good looking dude. Damn, he's a good looking dude. just stare at Robert Eggers all night here. What's on deck for oh, no, it's not that. No, just director. No. Fucking A, man. Okay, Nosferatu. And instead of Anna Taylor-Joy, this time he's got Aaron Taylor-Johnson. He likes the hyphenates. And he is going back to the Skarsgård well, and the Ralph Ineson well, and the Willem Dafoe well. I don't know. I mean, at best, that can be like, I don't know, what can you do with Nosferatu? You could make a really good modern day version of it. You could really fuck it up the way Netflix did with Dracula. Speaking of people who are in the Northman. Hard to find someone who you would look at and you would think, okay, yeah, I feel like this person could stand up to Alexander Skarsgård in a sort of magical realist fantasy Viking fever dream movie. But what's the dude's name? He was Dracula in the Netflix series. Clay. I have no idea how to pronounce his first name. I'm sure it's not Clay's. Bane. Fjolnir, the brotherless. Oh, but he had a brother. Ethan Hawke was his brother, and he fucking killed him. Do you get your name for something you do when you're... He was already like 50 when he killed his brother, wasn't he? Something like that. Pivy, does Eggers, does that mean something? Does it sound like something? Talk about like a letdown and a good premise. Mark Gatiss was working on it, right? I think he wrote it. Sherlock, I guess, has not really held up to retroactive scrutiny, I guess, as much as it was lauded when it came out for a few years after it came out. I'm not, oh no, Cuba, good one. Come on, that's going to be great. It's going to be great. Like, Nicolas Cage is no longer, he is like Tom Cruise. Insofar as that, I don't really think he differentiates between his real life and his acting life anymore. I feel like his life is a performance piece. And I like Nicholas Hoult. I just do. Sue me. But anyway, yeah, Dracula, man, the setup for that was great. And I was so excited by it. Although I was showing it to my partner, and the trailer was terrible. The trailer was terrible. In retrospect, I'm having trouble really understanding what it was about Dracula that drew me to it. It must have been Mark Gatiss, and I think it was also Claes Bang, however you say his name. But when you go back and you watch Dracula now, and it's 3 episodes, 3 long episodes. And at the end of the second episode, like you've gone past the point where you're like, you got to finish it. You're 2/3 of the way through. You got to finish it at that point. And it's been building and doing a decent job during those first 2 episodes. And at the end of the second episode, it just does this horrible thing that if it were like a 7-episode series, I would immediately stop watching. But because it was like, well, there's only one episode left, like, you know, they pulled the rug out from under you, and they were like, guess what? Well, to be fair, Anne Rice did the same thing with Lestat. When Lestat became a fucking rock star, a 1980s rock star, fucking in a glam band, a gothic glam band. So I guess there's precedent for vampire movies trying to move their settings to the modern day. And I mean, you can't say that Anne Rice failed, right? I guess she succeeded and maybe paved the way for other people who were like, you know, it'd be cool. Dracula in a fucking nightclub in modern day New York City. I mean, if you're doing it as comedy, what we do in the shadows, something like that, sure. That fish out of water element works really well there. I'm giving too much credit. I just had a thought. I feel like I'm giving too much credit to Mark Gatiss. And now I feel like I'm arrogant for thinking that a thought that I had about something he wrote is giving him too much credit. But I feel like because when Jonathan Harker was in Dracula's castle, Jonathan Harker was the fish out of water. And so then this was the inversion of that, where Dracula was the fish out of water in the world of the nightlife of New York City. Even if that was a thought, it's a silly thought. It's not justification for the foolishness. I think the only scene from that stood out to me, and I remember being like, "Well, that's clever," was basically Dracula just walked into like a college dorm apartment or something. Oh, it was a nondescript modern day apartment, and he was basically like, I know kings who, if you showed them the marvels in this room, they would never want to leave it. Right? This place is splendid. Like all the technology nearly indistinguishable from magic that exists as part of our everyday lives now. A brief flash of something that entertained me, I suppose. I really want to know how to pronounce Clay's name. And so that's what I'm going to do. How do you pronounce Clay's? Let's hear it. Class. It's class? Off the echo cancellation. Say it. What's up?
Class.
Class. That's great. His name is Class Bang. He would drink blood, then pee blood, then sell the blood as a party drug. I don't remember that. I do like the episode of What We Do in the Shadows when they get high on drug blood. We just drank drug blood. I drank drug blood. Kind of can't really even say it. Love at first bite. Helen, that was good. Doesn't Queen of the Dam predates nu metal? Queen of the Dam came out before that did. Didn't it? Yeah, 1988. Well before new metal. This was still hair metal, goth hair metal. I kind of feel like Anne Rice just kind of disappeared. Like, I know she wrote a bunch of stuff, right? She wrote erotica under a different name. She was writing a bunch of stuff, but I don't know. I guess maybe she was just writing stuff that wasn't in vogue as much anymore. Oh, hey, voice quills. And Olivia. And did I say, I haven't said hi to anybody, have I? Okay. Pivy and Stacy and Amy and Jeff and KJ and Katerina and Ms. I already said hi to. Nasha, of course. Trouser Mouse. Joey Barlow. I don't know Joey Barlow. Do I know you, Joey Barlow? Were you sent to destroy me? It's possible. I'm such a fucking... I'm such a little prick on Twitter. I really am like a little Twitter troll. And I'm surprised that there aren't more people that come here just to fucking confront me. I mean, I'd love it. I'd love to talk to some of those people who still think Elon Musk is just an edgelord doing his shit. Neocore, how are you doing? That's right. Got cold today. Cold. Jeff, I said hi to Jeff already, didn't I? Okay, wait, no, I can't. I went back too far. No, didn't I? Warp Raven. What was I doing here? This must have been eating the... This must have been the microgreens. Romachek. Of course, Ava. Of course, Q. Of course, oh, Lexi. The net. Oh, that's great, Amy. It's been a long time since I've reread Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, I read it so many times. It was my bathroom book for a long time. And I actually really, really liked... I liked Mostly Harmless, and I liked So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. I liked the Fenchurch, the romance. I know a lot of people feel like that's where it went off the rails or whatever, but jumped the shark. This is all that matters, Amy. That's awesome. Yes, please do. Like, I way over-index on the stuff. There's 19 people here, which fine. That's, I love you people. Oh, Juan, hello. One day I'd like to learn how to pronounce your name correctly also. You've told me just to say Juan, so that's why I'm saying Juan. And of course, Alan. Okay, that's everybody, pretty much. Let's get down to the bottom. Olivia. It's going okay. Thanks for asking. Hope it's going okay for you. I think I still liked Queen of the Damned. I liked the 3 books, right? Interview with the Vampire, Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned. There was Memnoch the Devil. I think I read that one too. I read like 4 or 5 of them before I was just like, nah, can't. Can't stay with this anymore. Project Valentine. Guitar stream sometime soon. Gotta be careful what you ask for. Oh, why do you... Oh, Voice Close... Oh, Voice Close did say the line. Wait, what? What did I do here? Okay. All right. Yes. And that was... Are you talking about Aaliyah? Is that what we're talking about? Damn. So, real quick, Ms., I didn't know your arm was broken. Can I ask how you broke it? Cut it off and eat it? Whatever the thing is that you did when you were when you broke your arm, whatever the thing is that you did that broke your arm, you have to do the opposite. Like, it's not even not do the thing. You have to do the opposite thing. So if you were bending your arm too far one way, now bend it back the other way. If you were hanging from something, now you have to compress your arm. You fell up the stairs. Is this code? Do you need help? Why are you mad? Why are you mad? Oh, so you got to fall up the stairs now is the opposite. Or you got to fall down the stairs is the opposite. How do you fall upstairs? How did you fall upstairs? I'm not a doctor, by the way. I should mention that. So it might not help you to fall down the stairs. Might not. What you have to do is hurt another part of your body more. I like this, Ms. That sort of can-do attitude that will bring you much in your life. As long as you don't actually throw yourself down the stairs. Yeah, I would avoid stairs just completely. No stairs. Can you guys fucking believe that this guy, this tone-deaf man-child, knows sort of like just lives in a bubble of his own acolytes, is under the delusion that the people who are against him or who call out his ineptitude and his nefarious behavior do so because, like, I really think like he's convinced himself that he is the good guy in his story. Like the very fact that he even said that this exchange, at some part in this exchange. So for those of you who don't know, there's a Twitter employee who posted a tweet saying, tagging Elon Musk and saying, hey, I think I got fired. I got locked out of my computer. I don't know if I got fired or not because nobody will talk to me. Nobody from HR will talk to me. Nobody will tell me. Twitter acquired a company that I was a founder of, and if I'm fired, I need to know. So I'm not sure why I would have been fired, but Elon Musk, could you tell me if I'm fired? And Elon Musk responded, because he's stupid. Here we go. Can we do both? Here, Elon Musk, you duck down for a moment. You got something to say? I'm rich, bitch. It's all right. Okay, so Holly, he was part of this new layoff, this 200-person layoff that happened at Twitter. Silent layoff, unannounced layoff. The kind of layoff where they don't tell the employees, the kind of office space layoff where it's just we fixed the glitch, like they did for Melvin. So he asks him, what work has he been doing? So, that's just stupid right off the bat, right? That's a stupid thing for Elon Musk to do. It shows that he has no idea how to run a company, right? Is he being baited by this guy? Did this guy successfully bait him? No, Elon Musk thinks in his head, he's like, of course, I already asked, what this guy does. He's a designer. Designers don't do real work. So I can't wait for him to answer with something, and I'm going to dunk on him. It's going to be fucking epic. It's going to be so epic. Everybody's going to fucking run to my aid and say, what a fucking fantastic person I am. How smart I am. How brittle the Twitter stack is. How it needs to be completely rewritten from the bottom up, and I'm the guy to do it. In Pascal. So what work have you been doing? And the response is, I would need to break confidentiality to answer the question here. If you have your lawyers share in writing that can do that, I'd be happy to discuss that openly. And then Elon Musk is just being glib. It's approved. Go ahead. This guy, by the way, who still has the PFP of himself as Iron Man, and who some people still think is some sort of master strategist, business genius, and not just a Nepo baby with a narcissistic Nepo baby who doesn't even know how to conduct himself in any sort of public forum in a way that not only makes him look like shit, not only did this exchange make him look like shit, it also seriously put Twitter at risk, right? And him personally. Even if I'm looking at this just from the perspective of just with a business hat on, let's forego any sort of compassion or any sort of ethical responsibilities or sort of social responsibility that you might say that Elon, as a self-professed philanthropist, guardian of the human race, right? All the things that he sort of declares himself to be, even if he were just a CEO, right? So let's say all the stuff that goes along with his self-proclaimed baggage, as well as the things that his acolytes and his sycophants attach to him. Let's remove all of that out of the equation. It's only from a business point of view. It's approved. Go ahead. Go ahead and break confidentiality and say what you worked on. He replies, among others, led the effort to save about $500,000 on one software as a service contract, supported closing down many others, led prioritization of design projects across the company to make sure we were able to deliver with a small team, led design crits to help level up design across company, hiring manager for all design roles, worked on efforts to steer company away from focusing on power users and onto younger users because our user base is aging. So this guy sounds like a design director level working on company strategy. I'm not sure why he even bothered to list the saved, $500,000 on, I think it was Figma software as a service. I don't know why he listed that, but this just looks like, he was listing his job qualifications. But I understand why he bit, right? But I don't understand what Elon Musk was trying to get out of this, apart from, wait till I laugh about the dumb stuff that this guy says he's been doing, right? And I'm sure Elon Musk like spoke to HR or other people within the company to find out what this guy had been doing prior to doing this. He didn't. Where he fucked up was he didn't go the one step further, looking into the corporation that this guy was a founding member of, that was acquired by Twitter. He didn't go into this guy as a person, didn't even look up this guy's LinkedIn profile, right? To see his history as a sort of design thought leader. He was literally Iceland's Person of the Year, because when Twitter bought out his company, he chose to take payments in salary so that the money would be taxed so Iceland would get the tax money, which, the guy's got good PR and he's disabled. I'm not saying being disabled. I'm not suggesting that's a good PR move to be disabled. Point is, he looked just far enough to think he could have a gotcha moment with this guy because he doesn't directly write code. So his response, level up from what design to what, picks or it didn't happen. Like, he's fucking 14, man. We haven't hired design roles in 4 months. Ooh, I wonder why that is, right? Okay, so it's still like within the last year. I mean, it's still good to list if you're a hiring manager and that's part of your skill set and that's part of what you've been doing for Twitter. Or is Twitter never going to hire again? Never going to hire designers again? You'd have to be really strapped as a designer to willingly go to Twitter at this point. I mean, you'd have to be really strapped as an engineer too. But as a designer, I think designers, the more the more left brain stuff, I think you'd have to be even more up against a wall, or you don't have your H-1B visa and you just got to work somewhere, right? If you're going to go to work for Twitter at this point. I mean, he's just forget Glassdoor. Like, Glassdoor destroys companies, right? They will go through to all kinds of lengths. If someone posts on Glassdoor or one of those companies or one of those sites where it's basically like here's my experience with company X before, you go and think about working for them. Elon Musk is doing all this bad work, disparaging his own company on his own. Good for fucking people who have the skill sets that Twitter needs, that they're seeing this display of infantile sort of playground bully, just like petty, spiteful ridiculousness that goes on at the highest level in Twitter. Like, if you're anybody who owns a significant amount of stock in Twitter, and you're not Elon Musk, you must hate Elon Musk. Elon Musk is fucking your life up. And the more stock you own, the more he's fucking your life up. And if you work at SpaceX, you must fucking hate Elon Musk at this point. I guess that is why, that makes sense why Elon Musk now travels with bodyguards at his place of work, even when he's going to the bathroom. Right? He'll have guards outside his bathroom. Because, of course, everybody resents you, man. And it's not even because you're so much richer than they are. It's because you're just such a fucking piece of human garbage. You have shown this time and time again, publicly, from the point of view of the general public. I think, I don't know, the hair plugs kind of did it for me, but that's petty on my part, right? But I think when everybody was trapped in the cave and when the kids were trapped in the cave in Thailand, I think it was, and Elon Musk was saying, "Oh, I'll send a special Tesla submarine over there to rescue them," and person in charge of it was basically said, look, that's not helping, man. You want to help, send money. We don't need some special Tesla battery packs here or whatever it is that you're sending. You're not helping the situation by drawing that kind of attention to it. And Elon Musk's response was to call him a pedophile, which a case that he then lost in court because apparently in South Africa, like when you call someone a pedophile, it's like considered the same thing as calling someone an asshole. Like you don't literally mean they are an asshole. You don't literally mean they're a pedophile in South Africa. I'm sure that judge, in an area where you can be subjective like that, I wonder if that judge could have been swayed by anything other than, say, the facts of the case. Possible? It's open for interpretation. It's an area that's open for interpretation. Nobody could point at that judge and say, no, there must have been something else that happened there. It's open for interpretation. So who knows what happened there? But I feel like that's when the world was introduced at a sort of global level, like not an individual level, right? To Elon Musk, the petulant asshole, right? But they would ignore it. Somebody tweeted something that was like, they said Elon Musk was revolutionizing banking, online banking. I knew nothing about online banking, so I assumed he was a genius. They said he was revolutionizing rocketry. I knew nothing about rocketry, so I assumed he was a genius. They said he was revolutionizing the electric car. I knew nothing about electric cars, so I assumed he was a genius. Then he came to Twitter and fucked up everything. And that immediately called into question my assumptions of him as a genius in these other areas. And ultimately, these are areas he bought into, not things that he created himself. And it's not value that he created himself. In fact, for Twitter, he's done nothing but destroy value. He's been nothing but a negative net influence on society and Twitter specifically since he took over. So, okay, so I haven't hired design roles in 4 months. What changes did you make to help with the youths? Why is this happening in a public forum? It shouldn't be happening in a public forum, right? Would you say you're a people person then, right? This is from Office Space. When the outside consultants come to, what is it, Intertech or Initech, whatever it is, some generic sounding tech company name, and they basically audit everyone who works there, and you are stuck interviewing for your own job. If you've been in the tech if you've been in the tech field or tech adjacent fields, you've probably done something like this. If you've been in this field for some part of your career, something over a decade. Right? Well, so in that case, Charlie, yes, then, maybe he's a mole. Maybe he thinks Twitter, he did literally badmouth Twitter after this, and he basically said, Twitter's a terrible place to talk about this stuff. All this stuff he'd just been talking about. Once he found out, essentially, that if he fired this person, he would have to pay out the remainder of their contract because of the way that it was written when his company was bought. And nobody knows the exact amount. Guesses are something like $30 million or something like that. The guess is that his company was bought for like $100 million, around there. Although he says they undervalued his company, so maybe it was less than that. I just assume that you have at one point threatened to fight pretty much everybody. All right, let's continue here. Once this helicopter goes over. So even like the Elon stands. Ooh, does this have enough space at the bottom that I can... Let's do that. There we go. I'm waiting for the helicopter to go. Okay. So even at that point, the Elon stands were saying, like, dude, it's not a good idea to reprimand or be a dick to one of your employees or ex-employees publicly in front of millions of people. You should probably not have done this, and rein it in. And you know his lawyers were basically like, you have just opened up Twitter to so many fucking lawsuits from this guy. We're going to have to pay him out the waz. Who knows what sort of ideas, like if I worked at Twitter, man, anything I could do to bring that place down, like from the inside, as far as like, I don't mean like, setting fire to a building, Melvin style. But anything I could do to say, take advantage of and or be litigious as possible, I would happily go into the red to do that. So all of a sudden he changes his tune based on your comment. I just did a video call with Holly to figure out what's real versus what I was told. It's a long story. It's a long story is the closest he'll ever come to saying, boy, that was really stupid and wrong of me and opened me up to, was made me very liable for a lot of shit. Let me just say it's a long story. It's too long for me to explain. There's a lot of ins and outs to what happened here between Holly and myself. You probably wouldn't understand them anyway. They're highly technical stuff. You probably don't know what SaaS even stands for, right? You probably have not rewritten a brittle API stack. Better to talk to people than communicate via tweet. It's probably not something you really want to have said on the very platform that you own. You know what's better than tweeting? Talking to people. Like Twitter should have it when you sign in. It's like when they put the lung cancer warnings on packs of cigarettes. Except Twitter does not have the lovely physically addictive qualities of cigarettes that would make you ignore them, or actually might even do a little to boost the sale of cigarettes, because it's cool to be reckless with your life, right? It's nothing like, especially like in Canada, where they just had fucking a skull and crossbones on packages of cigarettes and just said, cigarettes will kill you. Nothing appeals to a 16-year-old, which is the kind of mindset that Elon Musk has, than being able to flout the conventions around what is good or not good for your health, and to be like, I don't fucking care, man. I'm a fucking rebel. Boy Squills, have a good night. Thanks for coming by. What I wouldn't give to see the video call. Like, I don't want a transcript. I want to see and hear. I want to hear his voice. I want to see his face. I mean, he probably did it in that sort of flat affect, right? Probably there wasn't much to it, but I would just love to see that video call. Because Holly also has muscular dystrophy, right? So the lower part of his body, he's in a wheelchair, and he's not able to have like a lot of upper body strength for long periods of time. Which is another thing that Elon Musk basically made fun of, saying, oh, well, you're well enough to tweet, but you're not well enough to, say, create decks and acceptance criteria and all the different things that you would have to do to push through design initiatives to get buy-in at the leadership level, and then do what is considered your job as a director at Twitter, a creative director, design director, whatever he was. I don't know if he must have technically at least been I think he was a senior director at Twitter. So for those of you who don't know, right, like in the tech world, there's pretty much a standard convention where it's like associate or principal associate, senior associate, principal associate, manager, senior manager, director, senior director, VP, MVP, EVP, then your CEO or something like that. So I would like to apologize to Holly for my misunderstanding of his situation. Wait, he did apologize. I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked by that. I read this too. Like it seems so out of character for him to apologize that I literally read this and I was like, it's not like he's ever going to apologize. Don't care. Doesn't matter. It's just fucking words that he can then delete. He deleted so many tweets about this too. Like afterwards, he had a tweet where he basically said, "This guy's just the worst." I would like to apologize for Holly for my misunderstanding of his situation. You didn't misunderstand his situation. What you misunderstood were the ramifications for your company if you handled it the way you did. If you could have gotten away with it, you would do that all fucking day long. But even this apology is, there's a little bit of a qualification here. It was based on the things I was told that were untrue, or in some cases true, but not meaningful. He is considering remaining at Twitter. How much fucking money are they giving this guy? I hope he fucking fleeces them. And at one point in this exchange, Elon Musk said the fact that people were siding with this guy and being sympathetic with this guy's position shook his faith in humanity. And this is I feel like he wrote that and he actually probably felt it. I don't think that this is where I'm saying, I feel like he's sort of like a Nick Cage, Tom Cruise person in his own right. Like he's too far gone, man. He's too far gone. He's got to be, he needs to be put on the iceberg or the ice floe and pushed out to sea. He can have a lot of money on that ice floe. Be great. He can quick weave it into a suit to keep him warm. What did you learn today, Elon? Why? Who are you trying to impress at this point? Do you have to, are you really trying to convince the world? Are you trying to bring the world around to your point of view? What the fuck goes on behind those vacant eyes? I think you really do think you're here to save humanity. It's like prosperity gospel, right? Prosperity fucking value. I could just stare at that face. It's kind of there's just yeah, it's a mask. He's his own cult. And he's fucking dangerous as hell. Right? He sets a precedent for other corporations, for literally, if he were more, it's kind of like Trump in this way, and it makes me wonder, is this just coincidence? Or is there something more to this? But it's kind of like Trump, where it's if Trump were a little more savvy, he could be so much more dangerous. But he's incapable, and maybe it's a function of what he needed to do to get to where he is, that you lose this self-awareness, or this awareness of self amongst self as an individual amongst the group of society, right? But if he were a little more canny, what this makes me do is it makes me think about like Bill Gates, who I realize like the tide has turned against him, right? He's been on Epstein's jet, he's been on Epstein's island, who knows what sort of deplorable stuff he's done. It makes me think about Steve Jobs, makes me think about all these people who managed not to put their foot in it quite as much as you have, Elon. Now, what I'm saying here is, you're probably as bad a person as they are. They're probably just as bad a person as you are. But they're not quite dumb enough to let the world know it, or, to the extent that you have, at least. They're not, so blatantly letting other people know it. You're more like Trump in that respect. And I think that might have something to do. No, man, there's no way. Steve Jobs was a narcissist. Bill Gates has to be a narcissist. But there is something about that desperate sort of cry for attention, like on a daily basis, like doing live streams. Maybe you let someone talk long enough, and eventually they will dig their own hole. He owns Twitter, right? So like maybe he thinks like there's just nothing that he can't do there. When he's literally having people rewrite the algorithm to specifically favor his own tweets because he wasn't getting as much engagement as he thought he should get. Problem couldn't be him. I can't believe I spent time cutting this image out and making a PNG of it. But I like it, though, because I wish I could control the speed. It comes up nice. Looks sufficiently idiotic. And then he goes down too quick. If only in real life he could go down that quickly. So what do we got? A few of you are sticking around. Grimes. Y'all are talking about Grimes. I don't know. The things I've seen where Grimes has been talking does not seem like she has any sort of, she just doesn't seem particularly with it to me. That photo of her holding the Communist Manifesto, someone asked her about it, and I remember her response was just like, just thought it'd be funny. Just kind of, but I don't know much about Grimes. Just, the times I have heard Grimes speak, haven't been particularly impressed, which is Grimes' goal in life, to impress me. But what would attract her to Elon Musk, do you think? What on earth could attract Grimes to Elon Musk? I don't know. Sweet, sweet child support. And, you could say that, I mean, who knows? Behind closed doors. And maybe Grimes bought into a little bit of the cult of personality around Elon, and it took a little while for that sheen to wear off. She enjoyed being part of the conversation. I mean, power couples are often, like celebrity couples like that, it's often literally is just a transactional situation. Right? Literally makes you 3-4 times more viable than you alone. More viable than, if you just are friends with that person. If you're seen as a unit, both of your stock goes up a disproportionate amount. Or down, right? Wait, what? Crimes in Space, hello. How many e-girls date terminally online Redditors? I'm not sure what you're talking about here. I know what e-girls are, but I'm not sure what the implication is, I suppose. Yeah, I think this was this not a was that a double entendre? Go back to the wide shot here. You can see my sculpture. Note the purple light. And I've now filled that. Actually, I don't like the purple light. I should not have had the purple light. Should not be there. Seemed like a good idea at the time. I don't always make good color decisions. There's something else that annoyed me, right? Okay. I find myself always annoyed by this stuff. I'm annoyed by self-aggrandizing people, and it really does kind of get to me. Like I see people who do stuff like, say, do color grading for other people, which is good. Do color grade for someone? That's fucking cool that you do that. It's neat. You're not a fucking genius. Oh, you like the splash of purple, Olivia's. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would have chosen... Oops. I probably would have made it more teal, I think. Because it's very out of place. It's just kind of there in the middle. Like, I have things... This is sort of thematically... sort of orange, yellow, and teal, right? Are my main palette colors here. And there's just that one purple light, which is weird. I do have got plenty of my... Let's take a look at this. You all are super interested in these microgreens. They just come on little sponges, hydroponically grown. They're delicious. I just want to chew on the sponge. These are the leeks. These are probably my favorite ones. These are some, I think they're maybe basil. I'm not sure. They don't taste, because they don't really taste like the thing that they are. I think these are the radish. They all just kind of smell the same. No, actually, I think these are the radish. These are getting right at the point where they're a little too grown. I think they were overwatered. Yeah, Scott. Stick to the leeks. They got a good texture. Hey, Lisa. They have a Olivia, very spicy. Like eating chives or green onions. But good. Whew. I agree, Amy. I do think they're better as part of something. But this is how I get my fiber. Because in that way, I too am like a child. What else happened this week? Man. I'm still learning, trying to finish my repertoire to then be able to go out and play at small coffee houses or bookstores. That's what I used to do. I want to do it in New York too. I don't know if I've got it, but I'd be fine. Like, if that led to me playing with somebody who had it, and then I was just it adjacent, that'd be fine by me. Alan, I think the first ones I ate there were radish. The leek ones are not quite as spicy. Why I prefer them, I think. I got my friend into Hamilton. She'd never heard Hamilton before. Never seen Hamilton before. A few years late, I was very taken with it. And, it was sort of foisted upon me because my son was so into it. But whatever, I really liked it. I still really like it. I know it's not cool to like anymore. There was a brief period where it was cool to like. Not anymore, but I'm good with it. I'm learning to play. Oh no. Oh no. My guitar is not in this room. Of course, that means I'm going to have to go get it. Sort of flat, but I'm just starting to learn. sound like that. How's it now? Oh my god. I gotta learn it. Something like it. But you know what it is. On the nature of daylight. But it's always better to learn the thing before you play it. I've been growing my nails out. Try and get that. Fiddling around with stuff. This is what's hurting my arm. All right, what else is there to do? Yes, absolutely. A reading from the book of Song for the Unraveling of the World. Born, stillborn. Hop's therapist had started coming to him at night as well. And even though Hop knew, or at least suspected, that the man wasn't really there, wasn't really standing beside his bed with pencil in hand, listening to him and writing notes on the wall about what he said, he seemed real. There was writing on the wall when Hop awoke. He could not read it, but being familiar with his therapist's unruly scrawl, its legibility struck him as proving nothing. their nighttime sessions felt when he was honest with himself, just as real as his daytime sessions felt, maybe even more real. He did not report this to his therapist during the day. Instead, he waited to see if his therapist would mention it, and when he did not, decided that it must be some sort of test. No, as with so many other things, he would not share this with his therapist unless he was asked about it directly. But during the day, the therapist rarely asked about anything directly. He might say, "How was your week?" or "Did you have any dreams?" But he was never more specific than that. At night, however, standing beside the bed, the night therapist would ask pointed questions, questions that wormed under his skin. When Haupt lied to him, he would say, "How gullible do you think I am?" When Haupt only told part of the truth, the night therapist would wait, tapping his pencil against the wall for him to go on. And Haupt, at night, usually did go on, slowly extruding more and more of the truth through his mouth. It was as if the therapist was one thing at night and quite another thing during the day. Or even it occurred to him as if there were two of them, two different therapists who for some reason looked identical. "Are you a twin?" asked Haupt once during a daytime session. And the day therapist, usually reticent to talk about himself, was sufficiently caught off guard to say yes, and then shortly after, no. "Yes and no," said Haupt. "How can it be both?" "I had a twin. He was born stillborn." But when Haupt tried to question him more about it, the therapist shook his head. "We're here to talk about you," he claimed. Born stillborn, Haupt thought now, late at night. What an odd way to phrase it. Considering that in fact what you were saying was he wasn't born at all, why not just say he was stillborn? How was born stillborn different from simply stillborn? What had the day therapist been trying to tell him? The night therapist was there beside him in the darkness, tapping his pencil against the wall, wanting something. What was it again? What had the man asked? "I'm sorry," Haupt said. "My mind was elsewhere. What was the question again?" The pencil stopped tapping. "Elsewhere," the night therapist said. "Where would that be?" "Nowhere," Haupt lied. The night therapist made a disgusted noise. "The mind's always somewhere," he said. "I was thinking about something," Haupt admitted. "About what?" Haupt hesitated, trying to find a suitable lie. But the tapping of the pencil against the wall kept interrupting his thoughts, creating blinding little bursts of light in the darkness of his skull. "I don't want to tell you," he finally said. The tapping of the pencil stopped. Suddenly, Haupt's head was dark again. "There," said the night therapist. "Now we're finally getting somewhere." "Did you have any dreams?" his day therapist asked. They were sitting in his office, the chairs arranged as if for a staring contest. The day therapist wore glasses. This, Haupt felt, gave him an advantage. Did the night therapist wear glasses? He must, since the day therapist did, but Haupt didn't remember for certain. With the day therapist right there in front of him, he had a hard time imagining the night therapist. "No dreams," Haupt said, and then he said, "I must have had some dreams. And then, I'll be damned if I can remember them." Damned, he thought, wincing inside. Interesting choice of words. But his day therapist merely tented his fingers and nodded. "How is an apple like a banana?" asked his night therapist a few nights later. The man had run out of space to write on one wall beside the bed, so it moved closer to the window. There, in the cold glow of the street lamp, he looked exceptionally pale, as if he'd been chiseled from ice. "Excuse me?" said Haupt. "You heard me," the night therapist said. "Don't pretend you didn't." "How do you know if I heard you or not?" he asked, irritated. But the night therapist did not bother to answer. "How is an apple like a banana?" Haupt mused. "They're both fruit," he said. The therapist turned from the window and smiled. "Wrong," he said. "Wrong? They both have skin." "Why is that a better answer than they're both fruits?" The night therapist didn't say anything, just scribbled madly on the wall. "What are you writing?" asked Haupt, but the man didn't answer. "Why is yours the better answer?" Haupt insisted, but the man simply said, "The answer is they both have skin." The therapist can't possibly be there at night, Haupt thought near dawn, finding himself alone. It doesn't make any sense. And besides, I didn't give him a key. And yet the man looked exactly like his therapist. He spoke in a cadence exactly like his therapist's. If it wasn't his therapist, who else could it be? He rubbed his eyes. What else has skin, he wondered idly. And then he thought, I do. He was like a banana, and he was like an apple. If you were to draw a circle and put an apple and a banana in it, he would also be allowed to step into that circle. Nobody could stop him. But who's out there doing that, drawing circles around fruit, drawing circles around people? He considered the chalk outlines that were drawn around dead bodies, so it didn't have to be a circle exactly. Just a shape that could contain a fruit or a human or some combination of both. During a lull in the conversation, he asked his day therapist what it was like to know you'd been born a twin, but would never meet your twin. "Excuse me?" said the day therapist. "We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to," said Haupt, using a phrase he'd often heard his therapist use, usually at moments when Haupt suspected the man least meant it. "How would I know what it's like to have a twin?" asked the day therapist. "But," said Haupt and stopped. Didn't your twin brother, wasn't he stillborn? But the day therapist was shaking his head. "What twin brother? I was an only child." Hadn't the day therapist told him he'd had a twin brother born stillborn? Haupt remembered the conversation nearly perfectly. There'd been no possibility of misunderstanding his words. Why was his day therapist lying to him now? He bought an apple. He ate it slowly, puncturing the skin with his teeth and chewing the skin up along with the rest of the apple, except for the seeds and pith. An apple wasn't like a banana, he thought. His night therapist was wrong. They both had skin, but with an apple you could eat the skin, and with a banana you couldn't. You could peel a banana easily with your fingers, an apple you couldn't. To peel an apple of its skin you needed a knife. A person was more like an apple than a banana. You couldn't peel a person with your fingers, not easily. With a person you needed a knife. With a person, like an apple, you could eat the skin. He told this to his night therapist, but the man just stood at the window motionless, not even writing. Haupt couldn't tell if the man was paying attention. He finished speaking and then waited, but the night therapist didn't turn his pale face away from the window. "What's out there?" asked Haupt. "What's out there?" echoed the night therapist, turning abruptly to look at him. "The whole world is out there." But what, wondered Haupt, was the whole world? What did that even mean? If you were to draw a circle that contained the world, what else would belong within that circle? Where would you even draw it? "What were you thinking about just then?" asked the night therapist. He was looking at Haupt now, eyes hungry, gaze steady. Haupt, unable under such a gaze to come up with a suitable lie, chose instead to try and change the subject. It had never worked before, changing the subject, Not with the night therapist. There was no reason to think it would this time. The question Haupt asked wasn't a question he'd planned to ask, or would have asked if he had time to think it over. It was simply the question that was lingering unanswered there within his skull. What was it like being a twin, but knowing you would never meet your twin? The therapist stopped, held himself very still. How, he said slowly, did you know I was born a twin? The world is a strange place, thought Haupt, alone in the dark, almost unbearably so, and yet it's the only place I have. I'm not even entirely sure that I have it. Why would the day therapist first admit he had a twin and then lie and pretend he did not? What sort of game was this man playing? Suddenly, he knew the night therapist was there. Haupt drew the blankets judiciously up to his neck. He could see the therapist standing near the window, pencil poised. Shall we continue where we left off last time? The night therapist asked. Haupt shook his head and then, worried that the gesture wouldn't be seen in the darkness, said, No. No. Who are you really? Asked Haupt. What do you mean? Asked the therapist. He turned to look at Haupt, and again Haupt was struck by the paleness of the man's face. Were you born stillborn? Asked Haupt. Born stillborn? Asked the therapist slowly, and then his mouth stretched into a wide, mirthless grin. What a curious way to put it, he said in a kind of wonder. Would I need a knife to peel you? Haupt asked. That same mirthless smile, even wider now. Why don't you find out? Haupt threw back the covers. Underneath he was wearing his clothing. He'd been wearing his clothing all night. He approached his therapist, knife in his white-knuckled hand, but the therapist did not move. He lunged with the knife, but he must have closed his eyes briefly, because the therapist wasn't quite where Haupt thought he was, and was unscathed. He lunged again, and this time saw the knife pass through the therapist's chest, effortlessly, as if it wasn't there at all. But when he looked up at the man's face, he found his mouth to be full of blood. The man laughed. The blood spilled down his chin. Haupt pushed the knife through him again, and more blood came out of the man's mouth. But there was no sign of a wound on his body, and he still felt no resistance as the knife went in. What's wrong with you? Asked Haupt, alarmed. What's wrong with me? Said the therapist. How can I answer that? Don't you know by now that our time is supposed to be about you, Haupt? Haupt, what's wrong with you? Time passed. At some point, Haupt dropped the knife and made for the door. But there was the night therapist, just in front of him, no matter which way he turned. Haupt, more and more confused, had felt parts of his mind growing numb, shutting down. What sort of treatment is this? One of the remaining parts of his mind wondered. Isn't this sort of thing frowned upon by the therapeutic community? But when he asked the therapist, the man simply laughed and came closer. Shouldn't I have been given a safe word? Another part of him wondered. A safe word, said the therapist, though Haupt was certain he hadn't vocalized the thought. Has anything I've done suggested that this was a game of any sort, let alone one of a sexual nature? Are you alive? Asked Haupt. Are you? What are you? Asked Haupt. What am I? I'm exactly what you think I am. And when Haupt's mind turned inward, trying to understand what he thought the therapist to be, the man moved closer, licking his bloody lips. He woke up in the morning on the floor, sore. There were shallow cuts on his hands, his lips. His lips, though uncut, were black with blood. With a groan, he got up and picked up his knife. He took a shower. He would talk to his day therapist, he told himself. He would confront the man. He would ask why he was coming at night. And if he wasn't coming at night, if it was all in his imagination or something much worse, well, then at least he would know. He ate an apple, then ate a banana. There was something wrong with the banana. It was harder to chew up than he remembered bananas being. It tasted stringy and bitter. But the apple tasted exactly like he remembered apples tasting. He chewed slowly, washing them both down with water. "How was your week?" asked his day therapist. "Fine," he said. He was hunched over, his hands in his jacket pockets, folded in on himself. "Did you have any memorable dreams?" asked his day therapist after a long silence. "No," he claimed, "not a one." All the while he was thinking, born, stillborn and yet born. What a terrible thing that must be. If a twin doesn't survive in the womb, he was thinking, it's usually because the other twin takes the nourishment meant for him. If that twin is stillborn, it's fine. He can be buried and forgotten and will stay in the ground. But if a twin is born stillborn, where does that leave him exactly? His day therapist was staring at him. How long had he been staring? Perhaps a great deal of time had gone by. "What is it?" asked Haupt. "What were you thinking about just then?" asked the therapist. Behind the lenses of his glasses, he looked attentive, alert. "This and that," Haupt said. His day therapist stayed still, waiting him out, more like the night therapist than the day therapist. Again, Haupt wondered whether he should think of them as one person or two. The day therapist was still staring at him. Haupt moved his hands within his pockets until one of them found the handle of the knife and closed over it. He squeezed it. "I was thinking about apples," he said. "Apples?" said the day therapist, surprised. "And bananas," said Haupt. "What do you suppose apples and bananas have in common?" The day therapist's eyes narrowed slightly. "Is this a trick question?" he asked. "Of course it is," said Haupt. He imagined his knuckles going white around the handle of the knife. The day therapist was more like an apple than a banana. He would not be easy to peel. Perhaps it would be better to chew all of him up. "But answer it anyway," Haupt said. "Humor me." I freaking love his stories. Hey, Indigo. Good to see you. And now that Indigo is here, good night.